Hi and welcome to this video log with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. Well, you can see I'm holding something new, and this is the GoPro Hero7 Black, which has some added features from previous versions that look absolutely incredible, or looked absolutely incredible when I was seeing them in reviews. There have been reviews of the camera itself, and that's not what I'm doing today. Because what I wondered was, can this be the answer to most coaches' dreams in terms of what they can offer their triathletes, athletes and swimmers? Now this can be good for cycling, swimming, running and any other sport. But specifically, obviously, I'm a triathlon coach and swim coach, so I want to see in those sports, can it be good? Now, because I'm using it for coaching, my setup might be interesting. Now, initially, I've got it mounted like this, and you might say, why? Well, this is a GoPro mount that fits into a gimbal, this type of gimbal or any other gimbal that takes a phone. And I want it in this for two reasons. Firstly, I may use the gimbal. I'm going to show you how it works with gimbal and without running. But also I need it in swimming, and what I need to be able to do is take it off of this type of mount, which I can show or do for out of water shots, and then convert it so that it can be on a monopod. Now when it's on a monopod, and this is a very light monopod, all I have to do is turn it upside down and I can put it in the water at a particular depth. So if you look at here, we just fit it on. I just turn it upside down, extend the monopod to however much I want, and I can put this in the water and follow my swimmers. So the first thing we're going to do is test its underwater features, and we're going to particularly compare it to the swim wand to see what sort of pictures it gets and what sort of quality. Now the sensor in the GoPro is actually larger and better than the sensor in the swim wand, so I'm hoping we actually get better quality pictures. But let's go to the computer and see what happened. Now I've been filming with my swim wand for a number of years, so I'm very used to that. And the good thing about the swim wand is it actually has a screen that you can follow the action with. Well, up top we've got the swim wand footage, and the bottom down here we've got the GoPro footage. And because I can't follow the action on the GoPro, I'm not following the action on my swim wand either. So we're just getting footage as I'm shooting blind. However, you can see already that the footage from the GoPro is actually incredibly clear. It really is better colour, better clarity, and potentially something that can be exceptionally useful to swim coaches. Now I clearly haven't got the framing right for the swimmers who are closer. I'm in the lane next to it and I've got it on linear, so if I go to wide that might cure the problem a little bit, but you can see the difference in colour. And even when we go out to full screen 1080p, you'll actually see that the footage is exceptionally good quality, even though the water is not necessarily that clear, as you can see from this. It does appear that the GoPro Hero7 Black takes phenomenal quality videos underwater. Remember, underwater you've got a huge amount of distortion. There's a lot of dirt in water that gets in the way of the camera lens, and that really does affect you. The only thing you can't do with the GoPro 7 Hero Black is actually see what you're filming, which you can with my swim wand, which is incredibly useful. I never get a dud shot. I can get dud shots with the Hero 7 Black, but perhaps that'll get better as I get more used to using it. Next we're going to test it running, and I've got two different setups. I've got a setup where I just have the basic extension pointing either at me or away from me, and then I've got the Xeon 3 Smooth gimbal, which I'm going to add to that to see if running it actually makes a difference. Now again, we're going to go to the computer, have a look at what happened when I went out for a run, and then have a look what happened when I tried to follow an athlete, my wife, when she was running, to see if it could be useful actually moving instead of just as a static tool. I normally start a run with a little walk, then a jog, then I start my run, and where I'm heading today is to a park, and that park has a hill in it. So what I'm going to test is running uphill and running downhill, and I'm going to test the hyper smooth video, and I'm going to test both with and without a gimbal. You see I've got a backpack on me, if you look at that, That backpack has my gimbal in it. I'm going to start jogging now. Okay, I'm still breathing quite hard, but you can see the reason I came to this park. This is a big hill going up. Well, when I say big, it's steep towards the end. You probably can't see the gradient, but because it goes up, it also, along that line of trees, you can see comes down again. So I think this is a very good test, effectively, for the GoPro to see how well it handles going up and downhill with a hyper smooth. Okay, so here we go, second time up the hill. Okay, so this run is going to be with the GoPro in hyper smooth mode, but on the Xeon 2 smooth gimbal. Okay, here we go. Interestingly, at least I think it is, I'm currently down to 27% battery, and all I've done is what you've actually seen, and it's taken me, I don't know, including all the faffing around with filming, probably about 40 minutes, so that's not a hell of a long battery life. Fortunately, I'm absolutely anal when it comes to battery. So I actually bought 2 spare ones and a charger. So if it goes out, I've got one in my backpack. Now that's all well and good, but what we really need as coaches is to be able to follow our athlete while we're mobile. And if the hyper smooth is good enough, or if the hyper smooth with gimbal is good enough, we can potentially film at 60, 120 and even 240 frames per second, really slowing down that motion and enabling us to analyse our athletes far much better. Let's have a look at what happened. So we're out for our second run, or my second run, but this time I'm with Shelley, my wife, and we're heading towards the Rose Garden. The Rose Garden's a nice little circuit that we can do, and I'm hoping to be able to test the GoPro for good quality ordinary and slow motion video following a runner whilst I'm running along beside them. So that should be interesting. In the meantime, we'll just do a time lapse getting there. Alright, see you soon. Okay, so here we are at the Rose Garden. This is just a loop, it's very flat. There's no nowhere for your foot to snag on anything. So I think it's quite a good place to actually do some filming. We'll see. Here we have two short clips at 240 frames a second. Now it's important to note that the one up top is the one with the gimbal attached, and the one down the bottom is the one without the gimbal attached, just using Hypersmooth. Now remember, they're both using Hypersmooth. But it's also important to note that I made a mistake on this to a certain extent. I'm actually recording in wide as opposed to linear, and I do think that linear is better if you're actually going to coach. But for the sake of demonstration, I think this does what we need it to do. So if I just run this through quickly, say it's a short clip, and you can see the one on the top is really steady and the one down below is jogging all over the place. So if I take that back to the beginning, and we'll just take the head on a little bit, so we've got them roughly at the same place. If I actually go through frame by frame, you might hear clicking here, I apologise for that. But you can see at 240 frames a second, we are getting in both a very good analysis or potential analysis of this runner running, Shelley, my wife. Okay, so you can see here that every single one is a meaningful clip of the footfall and the drive-through that a coach can analyse. So even though the actual clip at full speed, and I'll just do that again, is much more jerky in the bottom one, we do get reasonably good footage that we can analyse on both. However, I do think that the analysis from the one with the gimbal is actually going to be that much better. Now, taking a look at the more common 60 frames a second, again, with the top footage being the gimbal footage and the bottom footage being the Hypersmooth only footage, let's have a look at it generally. Okay, you can see still we have some jumping up and down on the bottom, but on the top it really is exceptionally smooth, and the addition of a gimbal is also keeping it straight. But let's once again take the head down to about where we can say they're roughly level, and we'll go through literally frame by frame. Now, if we've got 60 frames a second, again, we're getting very useful footage just at 60 frames a second on both Hypersmooth and Hypersmooth with a gimbal. So although gimbal is holding it very steady, and I could probably go a lot closer than I have, it really is exceptionally useful footage. We are getting something that can be analysed quite well for any runner on both the Hypersmooth, and here Hypersmooth with a gimbal. Okay, so to be thorough, let's have a look at the last option that the GoPro has at 1080p, and that is 120 frames per second. Now, once again, here is the footage in Hypersmooth, and here is the footage in Hypersmooth with the gimbal. And it should also be noted in the last two frames, this is linear and this is wide, and you can see the difference between the inclusion in the lens of the wide and the linear, and why I think that the linear is that much better for analysis purposes. Okay, so let's just run this through. You can see there is a lot of bouncing on the bottom one, and on the top one that's pretty smooth. We'll just take that again. Yeah, so we can see the bouncing and the non-bouncing, but then let's just come back and have a look to see whether this footage is useful in terms of just plain analysis frame by frame. And again, you're going to hear me click. And as I click, you can see that it is incredibly useful, both in Hypersmooth and in the gimbaled footage. Now, I think with the gimbaled footage, I could get closer. And if this was linear, I think I'd have a much better picture. You can see the linear down the bottom. You're getting really good footage, and a coach or even the individual can actually start to look at what they're doing and actually analyse that pretty well without anything other than a GoPro Hero7 Black. So the whole point of this review is to see what I think is useful about the Hero7 Black in terms of coaching. Yes, it's a great piece of kit, but can you coach with it successfully? And to be perfectly frank, I am sold. I think there are a few things that could be better on it, and one of those is a link to a microphone, which it has not got. The only way you can do that is to buy an accessory from GoPro. Now, the accessory to plug in one of these, this is a powered microphone that is very good, and this is an unpowered microphone which is good, and I can add a dead cat to if I'm in windy conditions. So the only thing I can do to add those is buy an accessory, and that accessory is £49. That's one hell of an accessory to add the better quality sound. So the sound I'll have to deal with as is at the moment, but other than that I am pretty impressed. So to finalise my thoughts, this is probably the best single tool that a coach can have to help analyse and show his athletes, swimmers, what they're doing. And showing a swimmer or an athlete what they're doing is sometimes half the problem in getting them to improve dramatically in a short period of time. My setup will be this. I'll have the Hero7 Black, I'll have a monopod to easily put it in the water, and I will also have the gimbal. I actually have two gimbals. This one can work with my phone, and the other one can actually just work with the GoPro Hero7 Black. And that way I will have all the tools I need to analyse any athlete or swimmer that I have, and therefore give them exceptional feedback and hopefully become a better coach, because we can all do with improving all the time. You never stop learning, you never stop improving what you offer to the clientele. So GoPro, this is a massive thumbs up. In a practical use situation, the GoPro has proven itself to be an exceptional tool, and any exceptional tool should be taken up by the majority of people. And if you're a coach looking at this, you should get a GoPro Hero7 Black. Certainly if you have nothing else, but even if you have an underwater camera, this is a tremendous addition and may well improve the pictures you're getting just overnight. Okay, thanks very much. This was quite long, sorry for that, but it did require, I think, a full analysis as opposed to a partial analysis. Next week will be something different. I am working on tumble turns using the Hero7 Black. Okay, see you next week. Keep well, enjoy your training, enjoy your racing.